I'm Commander Clara Ward, 38 years old. I started as a young operations officer who thought she had to prove herself in every room and ended up running missions most people will never read about. For years, I gave everything to the service and to the people who built me up, especially Captain Andrew Hale, the commander who taught me what leadership really means. But at his funeral, his own son looked me in the eye and said I didn't belong there. He had no idea who I was or what his father and I had been through together. What happened next changed everything. Have you ever been dismissed or humiliated by someone who didn't understand what you'd sacrificed for them? If so, tell me your story in the comments. You're not alone. Before I get into what happened, let me know where you're watching from. And if you've ever had to stand your ground after being disrespected, hit that like button and subscribe for more true stories about dignity, duty, and finding your voice when no one else will. What happened that day still surprises people who hear it. I stand at the back of the chapel in my dress blues, hands clasped in front of me, watching the mahogany casket draped in the American flag. Captain Andrew Hale deserved better than this, a half-filled room on a Tuesday afternoon, most of the attendees checking their phones between hymns. But that's how it goes sometimes. The ones who matter most leave quietly, and the world keeps spinning. I'm not here for the crowd. I'm here for him. The chaplain's voice drones on about service and sacrifice, words I've heard at too many of these ceremonies. I stopped counting after the first dozen funerals. You learn to compartmentalize, to build walls between what you feel and what you show. Captain Hale taught me that, among other things. Joshua Hale sits in the front row, his posture too casual for the occasion. Mid-20s, expensive suit, the kind of watch that costs more than most enlisted personnel make in 6 months. He's been whispering to the woman next to him since the service started, loud enough that I can hear the edge of dismissiveness in his tone even from here. Something about lifers and people who couldn't make it in the real world. I feel my jaw tighten, but I don't move. Around me, other officers shift their weight, uncomfortable. A few glance in my direction brief, assessing looks that tell me they've heard the whispers too. Commander Chin from Intelligence gives me a subtle nod. Major Kaur, who served with both Hale and me overseas, catches my eye and shakes his head slightly. We both know what this is. The son doesn't understand what his father was. After the service, we file into the adjacent hall for the reception. Standard military fare, coffee that tastes like it's been sitting since 0600 hours, store-bought cookies arranged on government-issue plates. I take a position near the wall, observing. It's what I do best. Joshua holds court near the front, accepting condolences with the practiced ease of someone who's done this before at networking events. His mother died years ago. I remember Hale mentioning it once. Cancer. The captain had taken emergency leave, come back 3 weeks later with shadows under his eyes, but his performance undiminished. You must be one of Andrew's colleagues, an older woman says, approaching me. She's got the look of distant family, similar features to Hale, but softened by time and civilian life. Yes, ma'am. Lieutenant Commander Ward. Oh, how lovely. Were you in administration together? The question isn't meant as an insult, but it lands like one anyway. I'm used to it. People see the uniform and make assumptions. Operations, I say simply. That sounds exciting. She pats my arm and moves on, already forgetting the interaction. I watch Joshua work the room. He's good at this, I'll give him that. Firm handshakes, appropriate facial expressions, the right balance of grief and composure. But it's performance, not feeling. I've seen enough combat stress reactions to know the difference between processed emotion and suppressed emotion. This is neither. This is absence. Colonel appears at my elbow. Commander Ward. Ma'am. I straighten slightly. Hell of a thing, she says, her voice low. Losing Hale. Yes, ma'am. You worked with him on the Kandahar operation. It's not a question. Colonel knows exactly what I did with Hale. She has the clearance. Among others, ma'am. She studies me for a moment, then looks toward Joshua. His son seems enthusiastic. That's one word for it. I heard him earlier, talking to the Hendersons. Called his father obsessed with playing soldier. She takes a sip of terrible coffee. Some people don't understand what we do. No, ma'am. They don't. She leaves me with that, and I'm alone again with my thoughts and the bad coffee. The crowd begins to thin as we approach the burial time. 1400 hours, precise as everything else in Hale's life would have been. We file out to the cemetery, Arlington, naturally. He'd earned it several times over. I maintain my position toward the back of the gathering. The honor guard is already in place, 7 Marines in dress blues standing at perfect attention. The coffin team moves with practiced precision, transferring the casket from the hearse to the supports above the grave. Joshua stands with the family grouping, still checking his phone periodically. Even now, the chaplain, David Rhodes, I remember from the program, begins the committal service. His voice carries across the frozen ground, steady and sure. He's done this too many times too, I can tell. There's a weariness in his tone that only comes from repetition. I focus on the flag draped over the casket, the way it catches the weak afternoon light. Hale would have appreciated the weather cold, clear, no complications. He hated complications. Keep it simple, Ward, he told me more than once. Complex plans fall apart under pressure. Simple ones adapt. The rifle volley cracks across the cemetery. 3 volleys, 21 shots total. I don't flinch. Neither does Core, standing a few feet away. The civilians jump every time. Taps begins. I've heard it hundreds of times, but something about this specific rendition cuts deeper. Maybe it's the cold air carrying the notes further. Maybe it's knowing that Hale will never call me into his office again, never ask me to brief him on operations at 0:30, because that's when his brain worked best. The bugler finishes. In the silence that follows, the honor guard begins the flag-folding ceremony. 13 folds, each one precise and deliberate. I know what each fold represents. I memorized them as a junior officer, and they've never left me. The lead Marine completes the final fold and stands with the flag triangle held at chest level. This is the moment where they present it to the next of kin. Usually the spouse. In this case, the son. I shift my weight slightly, preparing to hang back as the ceremony concludes. I have a unit coin in my pocket, Reaper insignia, matte black titanium. I'll place it by the headstone after everyone else leaves. That's the plan. But then something unexpected happens. The honor guard doesn't move toward Joshua. The lead Marine pivots 90 degrees and begins walking toward the crowd. Toward me. I feel everyone's eyes shift. Confusion ripples through the gathering like wind across water. The Marine stops directly in front of me. His face is stone, professional, but I see something in his eyes, recognition. Respect. The entire honor guard raises their right hands in perfect synchronization. They salute me. Not the family. Not Joshua. Me. I return the salute automatically, muscle memory overriding my surprise. The moment stretches, crystalline and strange. Then the Marine steps back and the team pivots to face Joshua, presenting him with the flag as protocol demands. But the damage is done. Joshua's face has gone from confusion to something harder to read. The other attendees are whispering. Colonel Ing is smiling slightly, almost imperceptibly. Chaplain Rhodes steps closer to Joshua, leaning in to speak quietly. I can't hear the words from here, but I see Joshua's expression change as the chaplain talks. The color drains from his face. His eyes find me across the small crowd, and for the first time since I arrived, I see something real in them. Fear. Or maybe just understanding of how badly he's miscalculated. Rhodes straightens and steps back. Joshua clutches the folded flag against his chest, but he's not looking at it. He's still staring at me. I hold his gaze for 3 seconds. Then I look away, back to the casket. The rest of the ceremony continues without incident. Prayers, final remarks, the slow dispersal of attendees. I wait until most people have left before I approach the grave. The sun is lower now, casting long shadows across the headstones. I pull the coin from my pocket and kneel, placing it carefully at the base of where the marker will eventually stand. The metal clicks softly against the temporary placard. Fair winds, Captain, I murmur. When I stand, Core is waiting a respectful distance away. That was something, he says as I approach. Sergeant Miller has a long memory. Most of the old guard does. He falls into step beside me as we walk toward the parking area. Joshua looked like he'd seen a ghost. He saw something. I don't elaborate. We reach my car and course stops. You okay, Clara? It's the first time anyone's used my first name all day. I appreciate it more than I can say. I will be. He was proud of you. You know that. I know. Cor nods and walks away. I sit in my car for a long time before starting the engine, watching the cemetery grounds darken as evening approaches. Someone once told me that funerals are for the living, not the dead. Maybe that's true. But sitting here, knowing that Hale is gone and his son thinks military service is playing soldier, I can't help but feel the weight of all the things that will never be said, never be understood by people who've never worn the uniform. The air in the car is cold, but I don't turn on the heat yet. I just sit and remember and let myself feel it. Tomorrow I'll be Commander Ward again, all business and sharp edges. But tonight, just for a few minutes, I'm the young lieutenant who walked into Captain Hale's office 5 years ago, scared and determined and certain she had something to prove. He looked up from his paperwork, studied me for a long moment, then said, "Stop trying to prove yourself, Ward. Just do the work. The rest follows." I believed him then. I believe him now. The dashboard clock reads 16:45. I start the engine and drive back to base, leaving Arlington and its silent stones behind me in the gathering dusk. The memory hits me at 0300 hours, jolting me awake in my quarters. I'm not someone who startles easily anymore, too many nights in combat zones where sudden noises mean incoming, but memories have a way of ambushing you when your defenses are down. Afghanistan. 5 years ago. I was a lieutenant then, 03, 28 years old, and absolutely certain I knew more than I actually did. Captain Hale commanded our Joint Special Operations Detachment, a deliberately vague title that meant we did things that never appeared in official reports. I remember the first time he called me into his office at Forward Operating Base Hammer. The space was technically a modified shipping container, one of dozens arranged in neat rows on the base perimeter. He'd personalized it exactly 0%, no photos, no decorations, just maps and operational documents pinned to corkboards with the kind of precision that suggested he'd used a ruler. "Lieutenant Ward," he'd said without looking up from the tablet he was reading. "Sit." I sat in the folding chair across from his desk, back straight, hands on my knees. "I've been reviewing your file." He set down the tablet. "MIT, Computer Science. Top of your OCS class. Qualified expert on signals intelligence and drone operations." "Yes, sir." "And yet you're here, in a forward base in Kandahar province, coordinating supply runs." It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "There was a staffing gap, sir." I filled it. He leaned back in his chair, studying me with eyes that seemed to catalog every detail. "Tell me, Lieutenant. What do you think about our current reconnaissance protocols?" The question surprised me. Officers didn't usually ask lieutenants for strategic opinions. "Sir, we're running standard surveillance patterns. Predictable routes, scheduled intervals. What do you think about that approach?" I hesitated. This felt like a test, but I couldn't determine what the right answer was supposed to be. So I went with honesty. "I think it's inadequate for the current threat environment, sir. The Taliban have had months to learn our patterns. We're giving them our schedule." "Go on." If it were my call, I'd implement variable routing with randomized timing. Use predictive algorithms to identify high-value targets based on communications patterns rather than just grid searches. Let the intelligence drive the surveillance instead of hoping surveillance produces intelligence. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, how long would implementation take? 2 weeks to build the framework. Another week for testing. "But sir, you're just the person I'm assigning to do exactly that." He slid a folder across the desk. "This is a classified operation. Your new call sign is Reaper 0. You'll coordinate all drone and reconnaissance operations for this detachment directly through me. Your supply coordinator duties are reassigned as of now." I stared at the folder, then at him. "Sir, with respect, I've been in theater for 6 weeks. And you've already identified a critical flaw in our operations that my intelligence staff missed." He stood, signaling the meeting was over. "Time and grade matters less than capability, Ward. Don't waste my time proving you can do this. Just do it." I left that container office with my hands shaking slightly, clutching the folder like it might disappear. That was how it started, not with glory or dramatic moments, but with a commanding officer who actually listened and a problem that needed solving. The work consumed me. I built the system from scratch, writing code at odd hours, testing algorithms against historical data, gradually proving that variable patterns and intelligence-driven targeting produced better results than the old grid search methods. The drone operators loved it. They finally felt like they were hunting instead of just watching. 3 months in, we identified a high-value target through communications intercepts. Enemy communications coordinator, someone who'd been on the priority list for over a year. The strike was clean, no collateral damage, textbook execution. Hale called me into his office the next morning. "Good work yesterday," he said. "Thank you, sir. I'm putting you up for a commendation." "That's not necessary, sir. I was just Ward." He cut me off, his voice firm but not harsh. "Take the credit when you've earned it. False modesty is just another form of dishonesty." I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. He pulled out a coin, his personal unit coin, stamped with the detachment insignia. "This is for doing the work without needing recognition. The commendation is for the Navy's records. This is between us." I took the coin, feeling the weight of it in my palm. "I won't let you down, sir." "I know you won't." He returned to his paperwork, dismissing me without another word. That was Hale's management style, direct, economical with praise, absolute in his expectations. He never micromanaged, never second-guessed in public, never tolerated incompetence. But he also never took credit for his team's work, never threw anyone under the bus when things went wrong, never forgot that the people executing his orders were human beings with limits. We lost people under his command. That's inevitable in combat operations. But we never lost anyone because he made careless decisions or prioritized career advancement over mission success. The losses we took hurt him. I could see it in the tight lines around his eyes during casualty notifications, in the way he'd stand alone outside the command post after a bad day, staring at nothing. He told me once, during a particularly difficult week when we'd lost 2 Marines in an IED strike, command means living with consequences that other people suffer. That's the trade. You get the authority to make decisions, but you don't get to escape what those decisions cost. I was still young enough then to think I understood what he meant. Now I know I didn't have a clue. The operation that really cemented my reputation came 7 months into the deployment. Intelligence indicated a major meeting of Taliban leadership in a compound near the Pakistan border. Multiple high-value targets, tight timing window, complex coordination required. Hale assigned me as the operations officer. "You've got the tactical lead on this, Ward. I'll handle strategic oversight." "Sir, there are more senior officers who don't have your skill set for this specific mission. Stop arguing and brief me on your plan." I worked for 36 hours straight, coordinating with multiple intelligence sources, drone operators, ground units, and air support. The operation required split-second timing, surveillance drones to confirm target identity, strike drones on standby, quick reaction force positioned for extraction if anything went wrong, electronic warfare to prevent enemy communications. The night of the operation, I ran command from the Tactical Operations Center, Hale standing behind me, silent and watchful. My voice stayed steady as I coordinated the different elements, calling adjustments as the situation evolved in real time. "Reaper 0, this is Hawk 2-3, the drone operator's voice crackled through my headset. "Visual confirmation on target Alpha." "Copy, Hawk 2-3. Stand by." More confirmations came in. "All targets present. Timing optimal. No civilians in the strike zone." I looked over my shoulder at Hale. He gave a single nod. "All elements, Reaper 0. Execute on my mark." I counted down from 5. Mark. The strike was perfect. Clean hits. All targets eliminated, no friendly casualties, minimal collateral damage. The after-action review called it a textbook joint operation. In the TOC afterward, as the adrenaline faded and exhaustion set in, Hale pulled me aside. "You held it together," he said simply. "Yes, sir." Most officers your age would have hesitated. Second-guessed themselves. Waited for me to give the final order. You told me I had tactical lead, sir. I trusted that. He smiled, rare enough that it took me by surprise. That's the difference, Ward. Trust isn't just about believing someone won't screw up. It's about believing they have the judgment to make hard calls without a safety net. Is that what this was? A test? Everything's a test, Lieutenant. The question is whether you're learning from them. I deployed twice more under Hale's command over the next 3 years. Different theaters, different missions, same fundamental dynamic. He expected excellence, provided support without coddling, and trusted his people to perform. The last time I saw him before his death, he'd just been promoted to Captain 06, the Navy equivalent of a full colonel. We met for coffee at a base in Virginia, both of us between assignments. Heard you made Lieutenant Commander, he said. About time. Thank you, sir. Heard you're taking over the Naval Special Warfare Development Group coordination. Someone has to keep the door kickers from shooting themselves in the foot. He took a sip of coffee. What's next for you? Probably staff work. Maybe a teaching assignment at the War College. He shook his head. Waste of your skills. Sir, you're not a staff officer, Ward. You're an operator. Staff work will bore you stupid inside 6 months. I've been in operations for almost 10 years, sir. Eventually you have to follow your own path instead of some imaginary career timeline. He set down his cup. The military needs people who can think strategically and execute tactically. That's rare. Don't waste it sitting in meetings about PowerPoint formats. What would you suggest, sir? Take a command. Real command, not some administrative position. Find a unit that needs fixing and fix it. You're ready. I wasn't sure I believed him, but I nodded. I'll consider it, sir. Don't consider it. Do it. He checked his watch. I've got a briefing in 20. Stay sharp, Commander. He walked out of the coffee shop, and I never saw him alive again. 6 weeks later, I got the notification. Heart attack in his quarters. 43 years old. Just gone. Now, lying in my quarters at 0330, I stare at the ceiling and think about all the things I should have said. Thank you seems inadequate. You changed my life feels too simple. I wouldn't be here without you puts too much pressure on a mentor relationship that was always more practical than emotional. But the truth is all of those things and more. Hale saw potential in me when I was too green to recognize it in myself. He gave me opportunities that most junior officers never get, and he held me accountable when I screwed up. He taught me that leadership isn't about being liked, it's about being effective, being fair, and being willing to make hard calls when everyone else wants to wait for more information. And his son thinks he was playing soldier. The anger returns, sharp and hot. I force it down through sheer discipline, breathing slowly until my heart rate normalizes. In the darkness of my quarters, I make a decision. I'm going to stay until the end of the funeral service tomorrow. Not for recognition, not to make a point, but because Hale deserves to have people there who actually understood what he did and why it mattered. Joshua can think whatever he wants. The opinion of someone who never served doesn't diminish the reality of his father's service. I close my eyes and try to return to sleep, knowing it probably won't come. My alarm will go off at 0530 regardless. The day will continue, the funeral will happen, and life will move forward. That's the nature of this work. People die. Services are held. Everyone goes back to their duties. But some deaths hit harder than others, and this one is going to take time to process. The clock on my nightstand reads 0345 when I finally drift off, Hale's voice echoing in my memory. Just do the work, Ward. The rest follows. I'm trying, sir. I'm trying. The burial ceremony begins at 1400 hours, precise as a drill movement. I stand with the other officers, maintaining proper position and bearing. The sky is overcast now, threatening rain but not delivering. Appropriate weather for this kind of day. The honor guard has already positioned the casket. 7 Marines, their dress blues immaculate, standing at parade rest in perfect alignment. Sergeant Miller leads them. I recognize him from a joint operation 2 years ago. Good Marine, the kind who remembers everything and everyone. Joshua stands near the front with what's left of the Hale family. A few cousins, an uncle, some people I don't recognize. He's put his phone away at least, though his posture still communicates boredom more than grief. Chaplain Rhodes steps forward to begin the committal. His voice carries authority without volume, the kind of projection that comes from years of speaking over wind and distance. I've heard him before at other funerals. He's one of the good ones. He actually knew Hale, served with him on 2 deployments. We commit the body of Captain Andrew Hale to its final resting place. Rhodes begins. The words are liturgical, but he delivers them with genuine feeling. A faithful servant, a dedicated officer, a man who understood that service means sacrifice. I watched Joshua's face. Nothing. No reaction. The rifle team steps forward. Their movements are synchronized, weapons raised in unison. The first volley cracks across the cemetery, sharp and final. Some of the civilians flinch. Joshua doesn't, I'll give him that much. The second volley. The third. 21 shots total, the smell of gunpowder drifting on the cold air. Taps begins. The single trumpet, plaintive and clear. I've heard this song more times than I can count, but it never gets easier. There's something about those specific notes that cuts through whatever walls you've built. I keep my face neutral, my posture correct. This is not the time or place to break down. The flag team moves forward to begin the folding ceremony. 13 folds, each one executed with deliberate care. I know the symbolism: life, eternal life, the American people. The triangular shape representing the tricorn hats of the Revolution. Details that most civilians never learn. The lead Marine completes the final fold. He holds the flag at chest level, standing at attention. This is the moment where protocol is clear: present the flag to the next of kin. But Sergeant Miller doesn't turn toward Joshua. He pivots toward the assembled officers. Toward me. My stomach drops slightly. This isn't standard. This isn't. Miller's eyes lock onto mine. There's recognition there, something beyond simple military courtesy. He begins walking in my direction, his steps measured and precise. The crowd notices. I can feel attention shifting, confusion rippling through the gathering. Colonel Ing, standing 3 positions to my left, goes very still. Miller stops directly in front of me. The other 6 Marines pivot as one to face me as well. 7 right hands rise in perfect synchronization. They salute me. I return the salute automatically, muscle memory overriding the surprise flooding my system. My arm rises, hand to brow, holding the position as protocol demands. 3 seconds that feel like 30. Miller lowers his hand. The rest of the team follows. They pivot back toward Joshua, and Miller approaches with the flag, presenting it in the traditional manner. On behalf of the President of the United States Navy, and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service. Joshua takes the flag, but his attention isn't on it. He's staring at me, his face pale. Chaplain Rhodes moves closer to Joshua, leaning in to speak quietly. I can't hear the words from here, but I see Joshua's expression shift from confusion to something harder to define. His grip on the flag tightens. Rhodes straightens and steps back. Joshua continues staring at me, and now there's something like comprehension dawning in his eyes. Or maybe fear. Hard to tell from this distance. I hold his gaze for a moment, then deliberately look away. Back to the casket, back to why we're all actually here. The ceremony continues. More prayers, final blessings, the formal conclusion. People begin to disperse slowly, breaking into small clusters of conversation. Several officers approach Joshua to offer final condolences. He goes through the motions, shaking hands, accepting sympathy, but his attention keeps drifting back to me. I wait until most of the crowd has thinned before approaching the grave. It's almost 1500 hours now. The groundskeeper is waiting at a respectful distance, ready to complete his work once we're all gone. I kneel beside the casket support, pulling the unit coin from my pocket. Reaper insignia, matte black titanium, edges worn from years of carrying it. Hale gave me this coin after the operation near the Pakistan border. I've carried it through 3 deployments, through promotions and transfers and all the chaos that comes with military life. I place it carefully at the base of the temporary marker. The metal clinks softly against the ground. Fair winds, Captain, I murmur, low enough that no one else can hear. I stand, brushing dirt from my uniform trousers. When I turn, Major Kaur is waiting several yards away, hands clasped behind his back. He's wearing his dress uniform, ribbons perfectly aligned, shoes mirror-shined. That was something, he says as I approach. Sergeant Miller has a long memory. Most of the old guard does. He falls into step beside me as we walk toward the parking area. Joshua looked like someone told him the world was flat after all. He looked surprised, that's all. Clara. Kaur stops walking, and I stop with him. That wasn't just surprise. That was fear. I consider denying it, then decide against it. Kaur served with both Hale and me. He knows the work we did. Maybe he should be afraid. Not of me. Of how little he actually knew his father. Rhodes told him your call sign, didn't he? Probably. Reaper Zero isn't exactly subtle. Kaur resumes walking. How many confirmed high-value targets did that operation account for? 30? 40? 63 over 18 months. But that's not the point. What is the point? The point is that his father was one of the finest officers I ever served under, and Joshua spent the whole service treating this like an obligation instead of an honor. That's what bothers me. Not the disrespect to me, the disrespect to Hale. We reach my car. It's a practical sedan, nothing flashy. Government salary doesn't buy luxury, and I've never cared much about vehicles anyway. You okay? Kaur asks. It's a simple question, but coming from him it carries weight. We've been through enough that he knows better than to ask if he doesn't actually want the truth. I will be, I say. He was proud of you. You know that. I know. The words come out quieter than I intended. Kaur nods, understanding what I'm not saying. See you on base, Commander. He walks to his own vehicle, leaving me alone in the parking area. Most of the other cars are gone now. Just a few stragglers, people having final conversations before they leave. I sit in my car without starting the engine. The cemetery stretches out before me, rows of white headstones marching in perfect formation. Thousands of them. Each one representing someone who served, someone who sacrificed, someone whose story most people will never know. The dashboard clock reads 15:45. I should leave. I have paperwork waiting on base, emails to answer, the normal administrative machinery that never stops regardless of deaths or funerals or personal grief. But I sit here a few minutes longer, letting myself feel the weight of the day. Tomorrow I'll be Commander Ward again, all business and sharp edges. Tonight I can be Clara, the lieutenant who walked into Captain Hale's office 5 years ago and found a mentor who changed the trajectory of her entire career. The rain finally starts, light drops pattering against the windshield. I start the engine, turn on the wipers, and drive slowly through the cemetery gates. In my rearview mirror, I see the groundskeeper approaching Hale's grave, ready to complete his work. The world keeps turning. The living continue living. And the dead remain, silent and still, in fields of white stones that stretch farther than most people want to look. The weeks after the funeral blur together in the way military time always does, structured, purposeful, relentless. Days begin at 05:30 and end whenever the work is finished. I throw myself into operations coordination, reviewing intelligence briefings, supervising training exercises, doing the work because that's what you do. But the encounter at the funeral sits in my mind like a stone in my shoe. Not painful exactly, just present. Impossible to ignore. I'm in my office on a Thursday morning, reviewing deployment rosters, when my assistant knocks on the door frame. Ma'am, you have a visitor. I look up from the computer screen. I don't have any appointments scheduled. He says it's personal. Civilian. Name's Joshua Hale. The name hits me like cold water. I take a breath, considering my options. I could refuse to see him. I could have him escorted off base. I could give me 5 minutes, then send him in. Yes, ma'am. I use the 5 minutes to finish the email I'm composing and shut down my work screens. Whatever this conversation is going to be, it doesn't need an audience of classified documents. Joshua appears in my doorway exactly 5 minutes later. He's wearing business casual, khakis, and a button-down shirt, no tie. He looks uncomfortable, like someone who's not used to military spaces and isn't sure of the protocols. Mr. Hale, I say, standing. Please sit. He takes the chair across from my desk, his movements tentative. Up close, I can see the family resemblance more clearly. He has his father's jawline, the same shade of gray-blue eyes. But where Hale's eyes were sharp and assessing, Joshua's are uncertain. "Thank you for seeing me," he begins. "I wasn't sure you would. You came a long way. What can I do for you?" He fidgets with his watch band. "Expensive watch, I notice again. Rolex, probably. I wanted to apologize for my behavior at the funeral." I wait. Silence is often more effective than questions. "I didn't understand who you were," he continues. "What you did with my father. The chaplain, he told me some things. And I did some research afterward." He pauses. "Reaper Zero. That's you. That was a call sign I used during specific operations, yes. The articles I found were all heavily redacted. But the pieces that weren't redacted." He trails off. "You ran counterterrorism operations. High-value target elimination. You are kind of a big deal." I don't respond to that. The work speaks for itself, and I have no interest in discussing classified operations with civilians, even ones related to former commanding officers. "I said you didn't belong at the funeral," Joshua continues. "I was wrong. You belonged there more than I did." "Mr. Hale, Joshua. Please." "Joshua." I lean forward slightly. "Your father was an exceptional officer and a good man. The fact that you didn't understand his career doesn't diminish your right to mourn him. You're his son. That matters more than any call sign or operation. Does it?" His voice carries genuine doubt. "I haven't spoken to him in 2 years. We had a falling out about. It doesn't matter. I was angry and stubborn, and now he's gone, and I can't fix it." There's pain in his voice now, real emotion breaking through the polished surface. I recognize it, grief delayed, guilt compounded by missed opportunities. "He mentioned you," I say carefully. "Not often, but sometimes. Usually when we were deployed and things were quiet. He worried about you." Joshua looks up sharply. "He did? You're his son." "Of course he did. I told him his career was a waste. That he was missing out on real life, chasing promotions and playing soldier." Joshua's hands clench. "Those were the last words I said to him. 2 years ago, at Thanksgiving. And then I left, and we never spoke again." I consider my next words carefully. This isn't my role. I'm not a chaplain or a counselor. But I knew Hale, and Joshua clearly needs something I might be able to provide. "Your father understood that civilian and military perspectives don't always align," I say. "He didn't expect everyone to agree with his choices. What he expected was honest communication and mutual respect. You disagreed with him, that's allowed." The silence after is what he would have regretted. "I regret it too." Joshua's voice is quiet. "I spent 2 years being stubborn and proud, and now it's too late." "Yes, it is. I don't soften it. There's no point in false comfort. But you can choose what you do with that regret. You can let it consume you, or you can let it teach you something about the cost of pride." He nods slowly. "The Marines who saluted you. That was because of your rank." "No. That was personal recognition. Sergeant Miller served on operations where I was the tactical officer. The salute was an acknowledgement of shared experience. My father trusted you with important missions. He trusted his entire team. I was just one part of that. The chaplain said you were his protege. That he saw you as the future of special operations coordination. I hadn't known that. The information lands heavier than I expect. Your father believed in developing talent. He did that for a lot of officers. But you were special. I was effective. That's what mattered to him." Joshua stands, and I stand with him. He extends his hand. "Thank you for seeing me, Commander Ward. And thank you for being there for my father when I wasn't." I shake his hand. His grip is firm, more confident than when he arrived. He would have wanted reconciliation between you two. "I'm sorry you didn't get that chance." "So am I." I walk him to the door of my office. As he's about to leave, he turns back. "Did he ever talk about me? About what he hoped for me?" The question is vulnerable in a way that catches me off guard. I think back through years of conversations, trying to find something genuine to offer. Once, I say, "We were in Afghanistan, waiting for an operation to launch. He mentioned that you were smart, that you had good instincts for business. He said you reminded him of himself at your age, ambitious, impatient, certain the world would conform to your vision if you just pushed hard enough. He said that. Yes. And then he said he hoped you'd learn faster than he did that the world doesn't conform. You have to adapt to it. Joshua absorbs this. Thank you. That means more than you probably know. He leaves, and I return to my desk. The deployment rosters are still waiting, along with 17 new emails that arrived while we were talking. The work continues, relentless and necessary. But I feel lighter somehow. As if a weight I didn't know I was carrying has shifted slightly. 3 days later, a package arrives at my office. Inside is a framed photograph, Captain Hale in his dress uniform, taken during his promotion ceremony to 06. He's standing at attention, saluting, the flag visible behind him. The frame is simple but high quality. There's a note attached. I thought you should have this. He spoke highly of you in his personal papers. Thank you for helping me understand who my father really was. Joshua, I placed the photograph on my desk, angled so I can see it when I look up from my computer. Hale's expression in the photo is serious, but not severe, the look of a man who took his responsibilities seriously, but hadn't let them destroy his humanity. You'd probably tell me this is too sentimental, sir, I murmur to the photograph. Too much like keeping a shrine. But I leave it there anyway. That evening, I receive an official notification through Navy personnel. Captain Hale had submitted a recommendation for my promotion to 056 weeks before his death. The paperwork had been processing through channels, and the promotion board has approved it. I'm now Commander Ward. Full commander, equivalent to lieutenant colonel in other branches. The same rank Hale held when I first met him. I should feel proud. Accomplished. This is a significant career milestone. Instead, I feel the weight of it. The responsibility, the expectations, the knowledge that rank brings distance from the people you lead and closer to the decisions that determine their fates. I remember Hale's words, command means living with consequences that other people suffer. That's the trade. I understand that now in a way I didn't 5 years ago. The promotion ceremony is scheduled for 3 weeks out. Standard affair, base commander presiding, a few colleagues in attendance, brief remarks, new insignia pinned on, congratulations all around. I've been to dozens of these ceremonies. They're formulaic but meaningful. Colonel Ing calls me into her office the day after the announcement. Commander Ward, she says, the new rank feeling strange in her mouth. We're both adjusting. Congratulations on the promotion. Thank you, ma'am. Hale's recommendation was strong. He made a compelling case for your strategic capabilities and operational leadership. I appreciate his confidence. He also recommended you for command of a tactical operations unit. There's an opening at Naval Special Warfare Group too. They need someone with your background in intelligence integration and joint operations coordination. My pulse quickens slightly. Command. Real command, not staff work or administrative positions. Exactly what Hale suggested at our last meeting. That's a significant responsibility, ma'am. Yes, it is. Which is why I'm asking if you want it. This isn't a direct order, it's an opportunity. You can continue in your current track, potentially move to a teaching position at the War College, or you can take command and all the challenges that come with it. I think about Joshua, sitting in my office, regretting 2 years of silence. I think about Hale, dead at 43 from a heart attack, still serving, still pushing. I think about all the funerals I've attended and all the names on memorial walls. I want the command, ma'am. Colonel Ing smiles slightly. I thought you might. The assignment paperwork will be ready in 6 months. You'll have time to close out your current duties and prepare for transition. Thank you, ma'am. Don't thank me yet. Command is harder than you think, even when you think you know how hard it'll be. She stands, signaling the meeting is ending. Hale thought you were ready. I trust his judgment. Don't prove us wrong. I won't, ma'am. I leave her office with my head spinning slightly. 6 months. New command. The work Hale trained me for, finally coming to fruition. That night, alone in my quarters, I pull out the unit coin Hale gave me years ago. The one I retrieved from his grave after placing my own coin there. The metal is worn smooth in places from years of him carrying it, and now years of me doing the same. I think about the path that led me here, from a green lieutenant who thought she knew everything to a commander who knows just enough to understand how much she doesn't know. From someone trying to prove herself to someone just trying to do the work. Hale would probably say something pragmatic right now. Something about not overthinking it, about taking the opportunity and executing effectively. But Hale isn't here. So I sit with the coin in my hand, feeling its weight, and make a private promise to the memory of a man who saw potential in me before I saw it in myself. I'll take the command. I'll do the work. And I'll try to lead the way he led, with integrity, competence, and the understanding that rank is responsibility, not privilege. The coin glints in the dim light of my quarters. I slip it back into my pocket, where it's lived for years. Tomorrow the work continues. Emails, briefings, training schedules, the endless machinery of military operations. But tonight, just for a moment, I let myself feel something like pride mixed with grief mixed with determination. It's a complicated emotion, but then again, military service is built on complicated emotions. You learn to carry them all, and you keep moving forward. That's what Hale taught me. That's what I'll remember. The promotion ceremony takes place on a cold morning in early November. The base parade ground is pristine, the flag snapping in a sharp wind that cuts through dress uniforms like they're made of paper. I stand at attention in front of Colonel Ng while about 30 people watch from folding chairs arranged in neat rows. Standard ceremony. Ng reads the promotion order, emphasizing my service record and the recommendation from Captain Hale. Someone in the crowd, Major Corps, I think, started the applause at Hale's name, and others joined in. A moment of recognition for a man who isn't here to see the result of his mentorship. Ng pins the new insignia on my collar. Commander 05. For stripes instead of 3. A subtle change that carries significant weight. Congratulations, Commander Ward, she says formally. Thank you, ma'am. The ceremony concludes with the national anthem and a reception in the officers' club. People approach with congratulations, handshakes, the usual pleasantries that accompany these events. I'm polite, professional, present but not particularly engaged. My mind is already 6 months ahead, thinking about the command assignment, the unit I'll be leading, the challenges waiting. Chaplain Rhodes finds me near the refreshment table, both of us holding paper cups of mediocre coffee. Commander, he says warmly. Well deserved. Thank you, Chaplain. I wanted to tell you something. He lowers his voice slightly. After the funeral, after what happened with the salute, Joshua Hale came to see me. We talked for a long time about his father. He came to see me too. I know. He mentioned it. Rhodes takes a sip of coffee, grimaces slightly at the taste. I've been doing this work for 20 years. Military funerals, memorial services, grief counseling. You develop a sense for when someone is genuinely struggling versus when they're just going through expected motions. And Joshua? He was genuinely struggling. Grief compounded by regret, made worse by the realization that he'd misjudged not just you, but his father's entire career. Rhodes pauses. What you said to him helped. He told me you gave him perspective without sugarcoating it. I just told him the truth as I understood it. That's exactly what he needed. Rhodes sets down his coffee cup. Hale would have appreciated how you handled that situation. With the son, with the funeral, all of it. You honored his memory by maintaining your composure and your integrity. I almost didn't. Almost told Joshua exactly what I thought of his behavior. But you didn't. That's what separates good officers from great ones, the discipline to choose the right response instead of the satisfying one. After Rhodes moves on, I find a quiet corner and watch the reception continue. Officers cluster in groups, conversations flowing, laughter punctuating discussions. Normal social dynamics, the kind that happen at every military event. I notice Lieutenant Maya Cruz standing alone near the window, looking uncomfortable. She's young, 24, maybe 25, recently commissioned, assigned to intelligence coordination. I've worked with her a few times. Smart, eager, trying too hard to prove herself. I approach her. Lieutenant Cruz. She straightens immediately. Ma'am. Congratulations on your promotion. Thank you. How's the intelligence fusion cell treating you? It's good, ma'am. Challenging but good. You worked on the threat assessment last week. Yes, ma'am. It was solid work. Clear analysis, well-supported conclusions, good use of multiple sources. I pause. The executive summary could be tighter. Lead with the conclusion, then provide supporting details. Don't bury your findings in the third paragraph. Cruz nods, absorbing the feedback. Yes, ma'am. I'll remember that. You remind me of myself at your age, I say. Competent, driven, absolutely convinced that working harder than everyone else will make up for lack of experience. Is that bad, ma'am? It's not bad. It's incomplete. Work ethic matters, but judgment matters more. You develop judgment through experience and through learning from people who've been where you're trying to go. I glance around the room. Find mentors. Real ones, not just senior officers who look good on a recommendation letter. Find people who'll tell you the truth about your strengths and weaknesses. Like Captain Hale was for you, ma'am? The question surprises me. You knew about that? Everyone in the intelligence community knows about Reaper Zero, ma'am. The operations in Afghanistan and Syria, they're kind of legendary. I feel uncomfortable with that characterization, but don't correct it. Captain Hale gave me opportunities and held me accountable. That's what good mentors do. Find someone who will do that for you. Could you? Cruz hesitates. Would you be willing to mentor me, ma'am? I consider the question. 6 months from now, I'll be taking command of a new unit. My time will be even more constrained than it is now. But I remember being a young lieutenant, unsure of my path, desperately wanting guidance from someone who understood the work. I'm taking command of a tactical operations unit in 6 months, I tell her. I won't have much time for formal mentoring. But if you have questions or need advice, you can reach out. I'll respond when I can. Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate that. After Cruz leaves, Major Core appears beside me. Making protégés already? Just offering to answer questions. That's how it starts. He grins. Welcome to senior leadership, Commander. Now you're the one people look to for guidance instead of the one asking for it. Terrifying thought. It should be. The day you stop finding it terrifying is the day you should retire. He raises his coffee cup in a mock toast. To Captain Hale, who trained you well enough that you're only moderately terrified instead of completely overwhelmed. I touch my cup to his. To Captain Hale. The reception winds down over the next hour. People drift away, back to their duties and responsibilities. I stay until the end, helping stack chairs and clean up in a way that makes the junior enlisted personnel uncomfortable until I tell them to just let me work. Back in my office, I find a package waiting on my desk. No return address, but the handwriting on the label is vaguely familiar. Inside is a leather-bound journal, the kind with thick paper and a ribbon bookmark. A note is tucked into the first page. Commander Ward, my father kept journals throughout his career. This was his last one, covering the final year of his life. He mentioned you frequently. I thought you should have it. Joshua, I sit down slowly, holding the journal like it might break. The leather is worn smooth, the edges of pages dog-eared from use. I open to a random page, dated 8 months before Hale's death. Watched Ward run a joint training exercise today. She's grown into the kind of officer I hoped she'd become, confident without arrogance, demanding without being unreasonable, respected by her team because she earns it daily. Recommended her for promotion to O5 and for command consideration. If the Navy has any sense, they'll put her in charge of something important. She's ready, even if she doesn't quite believe it yet. I flip to another entry, this one from 3 months later. Incident today reminded me why I love this work and hate it simultaneously. Lost contact with a patrol unit for 6 hours. Ward coordinated search and rescue, maintained composure throughout. When the patrol was located safely, she showed no external relief, just moved immediately to after-action review. Afterward, I saw her alone in the operations center, hands shaking slightly. That's the mark of a real leader, feels the pressure, but doesn't let it compromise performance. She'll make a hell of a commander someday. I close the journal, not trusting myself to read more right now. The weight of Hale's expectations, his belief in my capabilities, settles over me like a physical thing. He saw something in me that I'm still learning to see in myself. That night, I visit the base memorial wall. It's a quiet spot near the chapel, a granite wall engraved with names of personnel who died while assigned to this base. Hale's name was added last month, his rank and dates of service carved in precise letters. I stand in front of his name, hands clasped behind my back, and let myself remember. Not just the professional relationship, but the moments that defined it. The time he chewed me out for second-guessing myself during a critical operation. The rare occasions when he'd smile at a successful mission outcome. The way he'd say, "Good work, Ward," in a tone that meant more than any formal commendation. "I've got the command, sir," I say quietly to the wall. Naval Special Warfare Group 2. Taking over in 6 months. The wall doesn't answer. The wind rustles through nearby trees. "I'm going to try to lead the way you taught me. Focus on the work. Trust the team. Make hard calls when necessary. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good." I pause. "And I'm going to try to mentor the way you mentored me. Find the people with potential and give them opportunities to prove themselves." A light rain begins to fall, barely more than mist. I don't move. "Your son came to see me. We talked. I think he understands now, at least a little, what you did and why it mattered." It's not closure exactly, but it's something. The rain picks up slightly. I should leave, get back to my quarters, review the briefing materials waiting for tomorrow's meetings. But I stay a few more minutes, standing in the rain, paying respects to a man who changed my career and my life. Finally, I step back and salute. Sharp, precise, held for 3 seconds exactly. Then I turn and walk back toward the main base, rain soaking into my uniform, carrying Hale's journal under my arm like a sacred text. Tomorrow the work continues. Command preparation, operational planning, team coordination, the endless requirements of military service. But tonight I've taken a moment to honor the past before stepping fully into the future. It's what Hale would have wanted. It's what I need to do. The rain falls harder now, washing the world clean, and I walk through it without hurrying, letting it soak me to the skin. Some ceremonies need witnesses and formal structure. Others happen alone, in the rain, with only memory and gratitude as participants. Both kinds matter. Both kinds count. 6 months pass in a blur of preparation and transition. I complete my current assignment, brief my replacement, coordinate the transfer of responsibilities. The bureaucratic machinery of the Navy processes my command assignment with typical efficiency: mountains of paperwork, security clearances, background checks, medical evaluations, endless forms requiring signatures and initials. The unit I'm taking over, Tactical Operations Coordination Element, Naval Special Warfare Group 2, is a hybrid beast. Intelligence coordination, operational planning, liaison between conventional and special operations forces. Exactly the kind of complex, high-stakes work that Hale trained me for. I spend weeks studying the unit's history, recent operations, personnel files. 38 people total, mix of officers and enlisted, with specialties ranging from signals intelligence to maritime operations to cyber warfare. They've been without permanent leadership for 4 months, operating under acting command while the Navy searched for the right fit. The outgoing acting commander, Lieutenant Commander Stevens, briefs me during a 3-day handover. He's competent, but clearly relieved to return to his regular duties. They're a good team, he tells me on the final day of transition. Skilled, motivated, experienced. But they need permanent leadership. They need someone who'll actually command, not just manage. What's the difference? I ask, though I know the answer. Management is about maintaining systems. Command is about leading people through uncertain situations toward challenging objectives. He hands me a thick binder. That's the reality you're inheriting. The systems work fine. The people need a commander. I take over on a Monday morning in May. The ceremony is smaller than my promotion. Just the unit personnel, a few senior officers, brief remarks from Colonel Ling. She hands me the unit colors. I accept them formally, and just like that, I'm in command. My first all-hands meeting is scheduled for 1400 hours. I spend the morning in my new office, larger than my previous one, with a conference table and proper filing cabinets, reviewing notes and thinking about what message I want to send. At 13:55, I walk into the briefing room. The entire unit is present, arranged in informal rows, conversations dying away as I enter. I see curiosity, assessment, the natural wariness that comes when a new commander takes over. I move to the front of the room without preamble. Good afternoon. I'm Commander Ward, and as of this morning, I have command of this unit. Some of you know me by reputation. Others don't. Let me tell you what you can expect from me and what I expect from you. I pace slightly as I talk, maintaining eye contact with different personnel. First, what you can expect. I will be direct. I don't sugarcoat bad news or pad uncomfortable truths. If something is wrong, I'll tell you. If your work is substandard, you'll hear about it. If your work is excellent, you'll hear about that too. Second, I will support you. When you need resources, I'll fight for them. When you need top cover from senior leadership, I'll provide it. When you screw up, I'll handle it internally before it becomes a public issue, but you will handle it and you will learn from it. Third, I will trust you until you give me reason not to. You're professionals. You know your jobs. I'm not going to micromanage or second-guess every decision. But trust works both ways. If you violate that trust, rebuilding it will be difficult. I stop pacing, standing center stage. Now, what I expect from you. Excellence. Not perfection. That's impossible, and chasing it leads to paralysis. But excellence. Good work, delivered on time, with attention to detail and strategic awareness. I expect you to communicate clearly, to collaborate effectively, and to maintain the standards that make this unit respected across naval special warfare. I expect honesty. If you don't know something, say so. If you made a mistake, own it. If you see a problem, report it. I have zero tolerance for people who hide problems until they become crises. Finally, I expect initiative. You know your areas of expertise better than I do. When you see an opportunity to improve operations or solve a problem, take it. I'll back you up if it's a reasonable decision, even if it doesn't work out perfectly. I scan the room, reading expressions. Some people are nodding slightly. Others look skeptical. That's fine. Words are cheap. They'll judge me on actions. Questions. I ask. A senior chief, McCormick, according to my roster, raises his hand. Ma'am, what's your operational philosophy? How do you approach mission planning? Good question. My philosophy is simple: clear objectives, flexible execution, detailed contingency planning. I believe in getting the right people in the right positions and then letting them do their jobs. I believe in over-communicating critical information and under-communicating trivial information. And I believe in learning from every operation, successful or not. I pause. Next question. A lieutenant in the back, Singh, intelligence specialist, speaks up. Ma'am, you have a reputation for aggressive operations. How will that translate to a coordination role? Direct question. I appreciate it. Aggressive isn't the same as reckless. I support bold operations when they're properly planned and resourced. I don't support unnecessary risks or glory-seeking. This unit coordinates operations. We're not door kickers. Our job is to enable success for the units that do the direct action work. That requires precision and judgment, not aggression. More questions follow. Logistics concerns, personnel issues, upcoming operations. I answer what I can, defer what I can't, and make note of items requiring follow-up. After 45 minutes, I wrap it up. That's enough for today. We'll have regular all-hands updates, probably weekly. My door is open for serious issues, but use the chain of command for routine matters. Senior Chief McCormick will be scheduling individual meetings with each of you over the next 2 weeks, so I can learn more about your roles and responsibilities. One final thing. I pull out the unit coin from my pocket, not Hale's coin, but the official unit coin for this element. This unit has a strong reputation. You've earned that through consistent performance and professional excellence. My job is to maintain that reputation and, where possible, enhance it. I can't do that alone. It requires all of us executing at high levels, all the time. We're not the flashiest unit in naval special warfare. We don't get the headlines or the movie deals. but we're essential to mission success. Remember that. Take pride in it. And let's continue building on the foundation that previous commanders and this team have established. I dismiss them and the room empties slowly. Senior Chief McCormick approaches as the last few people file out. Ma'am, welcome aboard. Thank you, Senior Chief. I'm looking forward to working with you. That was a good speech. Direct, clear, no unnecessary fluff. He's assessing me, I can tell. Senior NCOs have a sixth sense for whether officers actually know what they're doing. The team appreciated it. Good. Because now comes the hard part, actually delivering on those words. He grins slightly. Yes, ma'am. That's usually how it works. Over the next weeks, I settle into command. Individual meetings with each team member, reviewing ongoing operations, identifying gaps and inefficiencies, building relationships with adjacent units and higher headquarters. It's exhausting. Command is different from every other job I've had, the weight of responsibility, the constant decision-making, the awareness that 38 people are depending on my leadership. I think about Hale constantly during this period. How he handled difficult personnel issues. How he balanced mission requirements against resource constraints. How he maintained unit morale during extended deployments. I read his journal in the evenings, finding advice and perspective in his written thoughts. One entry stands out, dated 2 years before his death. Took command of the detachment today. Forgot how heavy command feels at first. Every decision matters. Every interaction with team members sets a precedent. Every communication to higher headquarters shapes perceptions. It's like walking a tightrope while juggling. One wrong move, and everything falls apart. But that's also the beauty of it. Command gives you the chance to shape not just operations, but people's careers and development. Used wisely, that's an incredible privilege. Used poorly, it's a weapon. Must remember that distinction. I remember that distinction every day. 3 months into my command, we get a complex operation, coordination between SEAL teams, Marine reconnaissance, Air Force special operations, and CIA elements. Multi-day mission in a denied area, high stakes, narrow window for success. I'm the primary coordinator. My team builds the operational plan, identifies contingencies, manages communications, coordinates logistics. It's exactly the kind of high-wire act that my unit exists to handle. The night before execution, I'm in the operations center running final checks when Lieutenant Cruz, the young officer I spoke with at my promotion ceremony, approaches. Ma'am, intelligence update just came in. Weather window is narrowing faster than predicted. I pull up the meteorological data. She's right, storm front moving in 12 hours ahead of schedule. That compresses our timeline significantly. Options. I ask. We can accelerate the timeline, launch 6 hours earlier. Or we can delay 48 hours and wait for the next clear window. Implications of acceleration? Some team elements won't have full preparation time. Increased risk of coordination failures. But the target will still be in position. Implications of delay? Target may relocate. Intelligence confidence drops significantly after 48 hours. We might lose the opportunity entirely. I study the data, running scenarios in my head. Hale's voice echoes, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Sometimes you have to execute with 80% preparation instead of waiting for 100% that never comes. We accelerate, I decide. Get me the senior representatives from each element. We'll brief the timeline change in 30 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Cruz moves to execute, then pauses. Ma'am, are you certain? The risk is acceptable given the intelligence window. I'm certain. Now move. She leaves, and I feel the familiar tightness in my chest, the pressure of command decisions that affect people's lives. But I've made the call. Now we execute. The operation launches 6 hours early. My team coordinates flawlessly, managing real-time adjustments, handling unexpected issues, maintaining communications across multiple secure channels. It's controlled chaos, the kind that separates good units from mediocre ones. The operation succeeds. Target eliminated, all personnel extracted safely, 0 casualties, intelligence windfall recovered. In the after-action review, the SEAL team commander, a crusty 05 with more combat deployments than I have years in service, nods approval. Your coordination team performed exceptionally. The timeline acceleration could have been a disaster. Instead, it was seamless. Thank you, sir. Credit goes to my team. Credit goes to your leadership, he counters. Good commanders make hard calls and then support their teams through execution. That's what you did. After he leaves, I return to my office and sit in the darkness for a while, letting the adrenaline fade. Success feels good, but it's also terrifying. Because next time might not go as well. Next time, that hard call might be wrong. That's command. Living with uncertainty, making decisions anyway, and carrying the weight of consequences. I pull out Hale's journal and find another relevant entry. Successful operation today, but I'm not celebrating. Success creates its own dangers: complacency, overconfidence, the assumption that what worked once will always work. Must guard against that. Stay humble, stay critical, keep learning. The moment you think you've mastered this job is the moment you become dangerous to your team. I take that wisdom to heart. The operation succeeded, but there were rough edges. Communication delays that could have been shorter. Resource allocation that could have been more efficient. My own decision-making process that could have been faster. I make notes on improvements, schedule a lessons learned session with the team, and begin planning how we'll incorporate these insights into future operations. The work never ends. There's always another operation, another challenge, another opportunity to either succeed or fail. But I'm ready for it. Hale trained me well. And now I'm training others, passing forward the lessons I learned, building the next generation of tactical coordinators who'll eventually take over when I move on. That's how this works. Succession, mentorship, the long game of developing people and capabilities. I'm not just commanding a unit anymore. I'm building a legacy. And that, I realize, is exactly what Hale did for me. The cycle continues, and I'm part of it now in a way I never was before. It's terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. Just the way it should be. 18 months into command, I'm asked to speak at the Naval Special Warfare Officer Basic Course. I almost decline. Public speaking isn't my strength, and leaving my unit for a seminar feels indulgent. But Colonel pushes me. Part of senior leadership is passing knowledge to the next generation, she says. So I accept. The seminar is at Coronado, West Coast sunshine replacing Virginia humidity. 30 junior officers sit before me, fresh-faced and certain they understand the world. I remember being exactly that young. My presentation is practical, real scenarios, decision points, lessons learned. No war stories or glory-seeking, just honest truth about what the job entails. A young ensign asks how I handle fear during operations. Honest question, honest answer. You don't get used to fear. You learn to function despite it. Fear reminds you that consequences matter, that people depend on you. The day you stop feeling fear is the day you've lost touch with reality. I tell her about training, preparation, trust. About accepting that you can make the best decision and still have things go wrong. You control your process, not outcomes. Another officer asks about work-life balance. There isn't much. Operations don't respect schedules. Crises happen at 0200 hours. If that's unacceptable, I tell them, consider a different path. There's no shame in choosing a life with normal relationships and predictable hours. But if you choose this, understand what you're signing up for. After the seminar, a lieutenant commander asks me to review curriculum materials for a new joint operations module. I hesitate, more time away from my unit, but then I think about Hale, how he invested in younger officers even when stretched thin. How that investment changed my trajectory. Send me the materials, I say. Flying back to Virginia, I think about legacy. Hale affected hundreds of careers through steady investment in people who showed potential. I'm trying to do the same, command effectively, develop my team, contribute to training. Not for recognition, but because someone did it for me. Back at base, Senior Chief McCormick greets me with messages. Normal operations, the team handling everything competently. Lieutenant Cruz finished her quarterly intelligence assessment, thorough, well-reasoned, significantly better than 18 months ago. Growth through mentorship, exactly what should happen. I write feedback and return it to her inbox. Small gestures, but they matter. I remember every note Hale wrote on my work. The months continue with successes and setbacks. Command is exactly as Hale described, constant problem-solving, balancing priorities, making decisions with imperfect information. But it's also rewarding. Watching team members grow, seeing operations succeed, knowing my decisions enable others to complete missions safely. One evening, I receive an email from Joshua Hale. We've exchanged brief messages over 2 years, but this is longer. He's established a scholarship fund in his father's name at the Naval Academy for midshipmen interested in special operations. I realized my father's real legacy isn't in operations commanded or missions completed, it's in the people he developed and careers he shaped, he writes. Thank you for helping me understand who my father really was. Something tightens in my chest. Joshua found his own path to reconciliation. I write back simply that Hale would be proud, not of the scholarship itself, but of his son finding purpose in honoring service. Late that night, I pull out Hale's journal again. I find the final entry, written 3 days before his death. Feeling exhausted lately, but I'm not ready to stop yet. There's still work to do, still officers to develop. Ward is ready for command. I submitted the paperwork. She'll resist it, doubt herself. But she's ready. She just needs someone to believe in her. Hope I'm around to see her take command. Hope, the entry ends mid-sentence. 3 days later, he was dead. That's legacy. Not seeing the full results of your work, but planting seeds that grow after you're gone. I'm living proof of Hale's legacy. Now I'm creating my own, developing officers like crews who'll pass it forward. The chain extends backward and forward, connecting generations through mentorship. I'm just one link, but I'm determined to be a strong one. On a perfect spring morning, I watch Lieutenant Maya Cruz get promoted to Lieutenant Commander and Deputy Commander of my unit. She's grown significantly, more confident, more strategic, more comfortable making difficult calls. After the ceremony, she thanks me. Says I reminded her of how Hale mentored me. The comparison hits harder than I expect. Chaplain Rhodes tells me I'm rotating out soon. You've done well here, he says. Captain Hale would be proud. He mentions Joshua is engaged, asked Rhodes to officiate. He's found peace with his father's memory. Thanks in part to you. That evening, I visit the memorial wall one last time before rotation. Hale's name catches the sunset light. I salute. 3 seconds, sharp and precise. Mission accomplished, sir. Or at least this phase of it. Leadership doesn't happen in isolation. It's built through countless interactions, lessons from dozens of people, experiences that accumulate into something approaching wisdom. In my quarters, I pack Hale's journal in my footlocker. It's traveled with me through multiple assignments, a constant reminder of who I'm striving to be. I'll carry it to my next assignment and however many come afterward. Hale died at 43, too young, with missions uncompleted. But his influence lives on in me, in Cruz, in Joshua's scholarship, in dozens of officers he mentored. That's not a bad legacy. This work demands everything. Some days it feels impossible, the weight crushing. But it's meaningful in ways few careers match. The knowledge that your work matters, that lives depend on your decisions, that the difference between success and failure comes down to discipline and preparation and will. Hale understood that. He lived it every day. And he taught me to live it too. Tomorrow I'll be Commander Ward again. But tonight I'm Clara, the lieutenant who walked into Hale's office years ago and found a path forward. Both versions matter. Both are necessary. Both are part of the legacy I'm building, one operation at a time, one mentorship at a time, one hard decision at a time. The work continues. It always does. And I'm ready for whatever comes next. Here's where I'll leave it. If this hit home, tap like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that quiet work still speaks. Drop your thoughts below. Have you ever been told you didn't belong, and what did you do? How do you handle disrespect at a moment that should be about honor? What's the best way to set a boundary without blowing up the room? Who's the mentor Hale in your life, and how are you carrying their legacy forward? I'll be reading the comments. Your stories matter.